Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Welcome back to Kirill Smashes Acting. I'm Kirill, actor, educator, cat enthusiast, and I'm not sure if you could see this far down, but there's somebody new in my household. We got a new foster dog named Drugi, who's a German Shepherd, who is trying really hard to become a foster fail. We'll see. Today we're going to be covering warming up as an actor. Every actor has to do some kind of warm-up before they work, whether that work be an audition or a performance, simply to make sure that they are physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared to do the work they're asked for. Now, a lot of times, as actors progress, they often let their warm-ups kind of go to the wayside, and I think, honestly, that's a huge problem. If you've ever seen interviews with athletes after they have great performances, they often talk about being in the zone, where they can't see or hear anything around them, and all that they focus on is what they need to do. Now, an actor has the same job. We need to focus on what it is we're trying to accomplish in each scene. All that talk about it just being a slice of real life on film or on stage is bull. Because the reality is, we already know the outcome most of the time, and everything around you isn't real. So we shouldn't try to pretend that it is real. We should try to create an instrument out of our bodies that can help us do the job we're trying to do for that show. That being said, there's 3 facets to an actor's warm-up. Number 1 being physical. Number 2 being vocal. And number 3 being mental or emotional, however you want to call it. I'm going to start by going through these one by one so we can get a better idea of what it is we're talking about. Number 1, let's start with why do a warm-up to begin with. I've always taught my students that your body is an instrument that you learn how to play. One of the biggest frustrations to me when I first started acting was inconsistency. One day I would have a great performance and the next day it would just fall flat, and I would wonder why and what can I do to make sure that I'm getting the best possible performance every single night. Warming up is one of the best ways to make sure that you are in the exact physical and emotional place you want to be to become available and honest when you are finally performing. So firstly, your warm-up has a trajectory. You have an idea of how it feels to be in what we call relaxed readiness, where your body doesn't have any tension, nothing is on your mind from outside of the day, and you're ready to pounce like a cat. Because of course I make a cat reference. The second part of the warm-up is checking in with yourself. What is in my way? Once I know where I want to be by the end of the warm-up, what's in my way? What's stopping me? Is it my back is hurting? Is it that I can't get something out of my head from earlier in that day? Identify what it is that you're trying to do today in your warm-up, because your warm-up is not going to be the same every single day, and then figure out a way to get to where you want to be through your warm-up. As you're warming up, a lot of times things will come up. Whatever's on your mind will come up, or different parts of your body that are tense can come up, and you can add or take away things from your warm-up to help you get to where you want to be that day. For example, right now, just because I'm talking about my warm-up, my toes are starting to get tense. So underneath my desk, I'm kind of stretching them out and moving around. The goal is to create a loose and ready body. So let's talk about how we approach the warm-up. A lot of this lesson is inspired by the book right over here, An Acrobat of the Heart by Stephen Wang. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about today when it comes to warm-ups comes from this book right here, An Acrobat of the Heart by Stephen Wang. Now, this book mostly deals with the Grotowski method of acting, but I really think that the warm-up section can be applied to anything. So here's some things you want to think about when warming up. Number 1 is, how do I feel in this space? I like to warm up off to the side from other people. I've never been much of a group warm-up person. So for me to feel like I can really work on my own instrument, I need to be somewhere else. I need it to be maybe quiet, or I'll put on some music in my ear, but I don't like seeing a lot around me. So ask yourself in your warm-up, what kind of space do I feel comfortable in that I could focus on my work? The next thing I ask myself in the warm-up is, how do I feel today? That's a really huge question. A lot of people get a warm-up and they do the same thing over and over and over, but in reality, you don't feel the same every single day. So some days I have to spend much more on my body, meaning I spend more time stretching or massaging different parts of myself. And other times I spend more time walking around as the character to try to figure out how to get out of my own head as the actor and get into the head of the character. I then ask myself, what is my current energy level? Am I really excited and pumped to be at a performance? Am I nervous? Am I tired? What is it right now? And what do I need to do to get it to where I want it to be? Next, I check in with my voice. How does my voice feel today? Does my tongue feel kind of uncoordinated? Is my voice tired from performing a lot? What do I need to do to get my voice and my speech up to the level I need it to be for my performance? Next, I think about my emotional life. What do I need to do to be in the emotional life of the character when they begin the journey that I'm going on with them? There's a trap where a lot of people try to get to the end of their performance. This is why so many young actors, when they're first starting out, try to come up with the most emotional and difficult, draining monologues for their auditions because they want to show how much they can do. But a lot of times that skips you to the end of the story. Yes, your character might be distraught and crying by the end of the scene, but if you want to honestly portray the story being told, then you need to come in wherever your character starts. So if that means they start happy, then you have to start happy. Being available to the other emotions comes with the territory. The next thing I go over is what are the relationships my character is about to go through. What are the relationships to the other characters? What are the relationships to the other characters? What is my relationship to the world, to the economy, to the society, whatever it is that's affecting that character in this story. Once I go over that general outline in my head, then I begin the actual warm-up I'm going to go through. Myself, like many other actors before me, we usually start with the physical part of the warm-up. I check in with my body. I do different types of stretches. Me personally, I like to do a full body stretch routine to make sure that all of my muscles are as relaxed as humanly possible. So during this full body stretch routine, I check in with my body to see if there's anything that needs extra attention. Sometimes I take in a little bit more time with my back because that's where I tend to hold tension. But you gotta kind of check in with your own body to see what you need that day. I do recommend checking in with your body throughout your normal life so that you get to have a sense of where you hold tension and to drop it. To drop tension, I've always been taught the Noel method. N-O-E-L. Notice, observe, exaggerate, let go. For example, I noticed a long time ago that when I'm typing at a computer, my shoulders are up and tense. So I notice it as I type. I check in with my body. Then I observe when it happens so I get an idea of how often this happens throughout my day. I exaggerate it so my muscles get tired, and I let it go. So that might help you figure out where your tension lies. So that way when you're doing your physical warm-up, you know spots in your body that you might need to target more than other people would. The next part of an actor's warm-up is the vocal warm-up. Now, vocal work is a complex idea, and there are tons of different methods to get an actor to where they need to be. But each one of these methods focus on creating an open, unrestricted, easy voice that is full of projection and is articulate. I would be happy to do a video on different vocal techniques. If you guys are interested, just let me know in the comments. My vocal warm-ups always start off with very soft sounds, very open sounds like ah, huh, very little force, and then slowly building into yawns and relaxation of the different anatomical parts of the body used to create sound. I work on my range going from all the way in the bottom to the very top, all the way through my head voice to make sure that I can access each and every part of my range for my performance. I then go through speech. Now that's actually not that difficult. Tongue twisters are an actor's best friend. There are tons of different tongue twisters. I highly recommend you to Google them and to start slow and work your way up until you can enunciate them clearly. To this day, I still have a speech impediment and I have difficulty saying the letter L. So before any performance, I warm up as much as possible to make sure that when I'm speaking, I'm as clear and understandable as I could be to the audience. All of the emotion in the world doesn't matter if you're not clear with what you're saying. Because in the end, you might be crying, you might be demonstrating to the audience all that you're going through, but if they don't understand what it is you're saying, they don't understand why you're going through these things, and you completely miss them. So once your voice feels full of vibration, resonant, and your speech feels strong and articulate, then you can move on to the mental and emotional part of the warm-up. As I mentioned before, the emotional and mental part of the warm-up is about getting your head into the character's head. This has a lot to do with point of view that we talked about last time. You can't get into the character's head unless you understand how they feel about everything around them. Once you understand those things, you can start building the character into your own body, figuring out how it is they walk and move through the world and why. Some characters, it might be easy. They might have a knee injury and that affects the way they see the world. Some characters, you might have to do a little bit more psychological digging to figure out why they physically present themselves the way they do. Next is figuring out what relationships are important to the character and why they might be in the character's head. Then we move on to the final part, and that's figuring out what atmosphere your character starts the show or the performance in. What is their beginning point? And where do they go to? Unless you're clear on the character's trajectory, your starting point becomes kind of general, and generality is the killer of art. So once you've gone over the character's life in your head, really think about where they are in their life right at the starting point, from the moment you walk on film or on stage. Are they angry, happy, sad? What's happening and why? Take some time after you've done your physical and vocal warm-up to get into the character's body and to get into their mind. Figure out how they're moving through the world, figure out why they're moving through the world that way, figure out how they feel and specifically about why, and spend some time in their inner monologue. Once you can get that kind of thought and rhythm into your head, then you're ready for your performance. Now, that does not mean that if you're about to start off as an angry character, you should walk around being a jerk to people. Trust that if you've done your work, that if you've done your homework, you've done your research, you've done your warm-up, that it's there. So if somebody says hello to you, say hi back. Be a good person. It's nice to be important, but it's way more important to be nice. If you've done all the work that you need to do to perform, it'll be there. I promise. I know today's was a bit of a shorter video, but I really wanted to get the idea of how do we take those things that we've learned, objectives, tactics, obstacles, and start putting it into our characters. And that all starts with your warm-up. So if you like this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe to see more, and let me know what you want me to focus on in a new video down below in the comment section. Say goodbye, Droogie. Goodbye, Droogie. Mwah.